But there's a reality in that we should have given our voters an opportunity to make a decision for themselves. And by the time we had to make a decision, it was too late.
By the way, it's just 3 straight nominations where Democratic voters didn't get a chance to pick the nominee. The elites picked Hillary Clinton, the elites picked Joe Biden, and the elites picked Kamala Harris. There was no actual set of voters who felt like they had a say in this.
But wait, there's more.
This is not a media failure. This is a failure of the Democratic Party.
What?
And I just sort of the virtue signaling that some people have done to try to say that the media missed this story. They didn't miss this story.
You sure about that?
David Ignatius wrote, I just refuse to accept this stupid premise because it's a right-wing, manufactured right-wing premise in order to stain the media. The media's got plenty of things to attack them for, and there are MSNBC and CNN and pundits that absolutely carried water for Joe Biden, but they're not journalists. They're former strategists that carried water for Joe Biden. The journalist, David Ignatius, wrote a very high-profile column in October of 23 saying, is he really running again? This doesn't seem like a good idea. People like me were promoting Dean Phillips' campaign because he was running
Wall Street Journal did a bunch of coverage.
So it's not like this. This isn't WMDs, where the White House worked with the mainstream media to manufacture a story that did not exist. That was a press failure, massive press failure.
No shit. No shit. No shit.
This was not that failure. This is an attempt by some to virtue signal, and it's this horrible sort of pitting different news organizations against each other, when ultimately the people at fault are Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Jill Biden, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, every elected member of Congress.
Oh wow.
A few moments later.
Why was the mainstream media so reluctant, it seemed to me, to go much, much harder on what everyone was seeing with their own eyes?
Well, look, I sit here and I'll defend a little bit of this in that I would argue the reason people were able to come to their own conclusion on Joe Biden is because of the media coverage.
No shit. No shit. No shit.
Plenty of individual people questioning whether he should run. I certainly questioned whether he should run.
What?
I think I can smell shite.
You didn't understand, there was some of that. But I understand the argument about the collective on that front. The only thing I can chalk it up to is this, whatever you want to call it, this fear that some members of the media had sometimes that they would be perceived as helping Trump if they somehow diminished Biden. And I think this has been the fundamental mistake that many members of the traditional press have done.
No shit. No shit. No shit.
Flashback.
Chuck, let's talk about the politics of this. Some of the language in this report is just damning. You can't get around it. An elderly man with a poor memory, he's in the fight of his political life.
Well, and it's also, when is it coming, right? It's coming on the heels of just like more of these. And he's accumulating. This is sort of a narrative that is the classic death by a thousand cuts, right? The Kohl and the Helmut Kohl and the Francois Mitterrand. And it's these tiny little things, and every moment, of course, gets amplified by the right-wing noise machine. And it certainly does. And you're seeing with this in this report. There's an easy way, though, for the White House to basically make this report pointless about his memory.
Which is?
Put them out there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Will they?
Put them out there all the time. The easiest way to get rid of this storyline is to get them out there.
Right.
But it's been discussed. He has not informed the nation about why we've struck so many military sites in the Middle East, right? We've had paper statements and occasional comment here or there. We had a daytime one so far about the border bill, but he's been not very engaged on that. He's engaged in these fundraisers.
Yeah.
Which we get
behind closed doors.
where there's no cameras.
Yeah.
But, I don't know how many different ways people can be yelling into the vacuum to this White House. You got to get them out there more, because the public is drawing their own conclusion.
Yeah.
And then this report feeds a narrative. They may be angry about it. They may think, oh, this Trump appointee put that in there to, scare, just in the same way Clinton people were upset about the words James Comey used when he made the statement after deciding not to bring charges against her. And so, but it doesn't erase, it's sort of like say there, well, why are you worried about it? Because there's some truth to it. You know that the voters are seeing this. You've got to fix this.
I certainly question whether he should run.
Liar! Liar!
Meanwhile,
The Aldo Beckman Award for Overall Excellence is named for a past president of the association, the late Chicago Tribune Washington correspondent Aldo Beckman. The award was established in 1981 to recognize a correspondent who personifies the journalistic excellence and personal qualities of Aldo Beckman: impartiality, integrity, and a deep knowledge of the presidency. The award also includes a prize of $2,500. This year's award goes to Alex Thompson of Axios. The judges said Thompson's aggressive reporting on President Biden, especially leading up to and after the Trump-Biden debate, revealed the president's cognitive decline was impacting his ability to do his job, information the White House tried to conceal.
No shit.
President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception.
You think?
But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story. And some people trust us less because of it.
Yikes.
Who could have seen this coming?
We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows.
Yes.
I say this because acknowledging errors builds trust, and being defensive about them further erodes it. We should have done better. I believe our mission is vital in a world where people are struggling to figure out what's true, and people with power are not telling the truth.
I had a cabinet secretary, very off the record, okay, cabinet secretary, right after the 22 midterms, ask me this question: how can Biden run again? Okay, this is a pretty high level. This cabinet secretary could never get a one-on-one, in the Oval Office, felt as if they were being prevented. This was not, no offense to HUD and labor, but this person wasn't at HUD and labor, and I'll just leave it at that. This is one of the big five. And they couldn't get a one-on-one meeting with her. I believe Blinken was the only one that ever got real one-on-one meetings. I don't think anybody else did, and it's because Blinken was in on it. And what do I mean by in on it? This is where I'm going to defend the press a little bit here, because I would argue, why did the country conclude that Biden was too old to be president? Because of what they saw based on the coverage we were giving. So, for instance, while we had Baghdad Bob-like spokespeople inside that West Wing about Biden, oh, he's never been better, he's never been this. It was us in the press who said, hey, look, he's taking the short staircase. It was us in the press that said, hey, he's only doing one event a day.
Well, in fairness, you got former colleague of yours looked in the camera and told the audience, F you, if you don't believe this is the best version
and this is why I'm not going to
stuff.
sit there and defend that.
Right.
There was a lot of what I call the partisan, the ideologic. Look, the people that are on cable news.
But you should. The media should.
But my argument is that the reason the public had concluded Biden was too old was based on their own observations.
Every mother time. Every time.